Hello and welcome to episode 78 of Stitched in Sweden. I'm Maria and you can find me on Ravelry and Instagram as Stitched in Sweden. I have a couple of different types of projects today to show you. I have a few knitting projects as well as some more house projects that I've been doing, craft projects in the past couple of days and weeks, and I thought that I would share them with you just so that you can see some other kind of things that I have been working on. I'll go ahead and start out with what I have been knitting. I have two projects that I'm working on at the moment. Both are design projects, and I'll give you a little preview. Here is a little baby sweater that I'm working on, and this yarn is Socks Yeah from Coop Knits, and it is a fingering weight yarn. I think that it is a 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon, and I'm not 100% sure on that. But this is the malachite color, and I really like it. You can see the texture on there. I've got a tubular bind off, and this is just going to be a little pullover. I have the pattern written out on paper. I just need to go ahead and type it up so that I can send it out to some test knitters. The other project that I'm still working on is a shawl, and I'm just going to show you the color of it again because this one isn't quite at the point that I'm definitely settled on what the design is going to look like, so if it changes, I don't really want to show you yet, but it will have these pearl ridges, large pearl ridges down it, and this is a really nice light pink color called what is it called? Palm something, and it is from Palm Lines. Yeah, that's it, Palm Lines. And it is a DK weight yarn from Stress Knits. I have 3 skeins, and currently I am partly through the second skein. This one is coming along nicely, but it will be still a bit until I have the pattern written up, because sometimes it's easier to knit a pattern yourself. It can be difficult to formulate the instructions in a way that other people can knit it and achieve the same result. I haven't gotten that one totally worked out yet, but I'm sure it will be fine. And the interesting thing about that one is that I actually am doing something both on the front side and on the back side of the shawl, so the right and wrong side. But with how the pearl stitches, there's these like pearl columns, and how those sections are set up, it means that you sort of have built-in stitch markers in a way so that you can really always see where you are in the pattern, and that makes it, I think, pretty easy to follow, even though you're working on both the right side and the wrong side, which isn't as common, I would say. Oftentimes you have maybe the wrong side of a shawl is all purl stitches, or if it's a garter stitch shawl, then it's all knit stitches, and you're only doing yarn overs and knit 2 togethers and that kind of thing on the right side, but not for this one. So I'm really liking how it's coming out, and I think that in the end it's going to be a nice pattern, so I'll just keep working on it. The most exciting thing for me that is finished now is the Big Hearts pattern, and this is the kind of sister sweater to my Little Hearts cardigan, which I originally published in 2015 and now is published again with an update to include 2 different construction methods. There's both a top-down method both of the methods are top down now. The original was written from the bottom up, but both are top down now, and one version is knit flat, so knit back and forth, and then the other version is knit in the round and steeked. So I'm talking about the Little Hearts cardigan, which I'm not holding. I think it's up there somewhere. The Little Hearts cardigan is a cardigan, and it is for sizes. There's 3 different sizes, and it ranges from newborn to 2 years, I think. This is the Big Heart sweater, which is my new design and is now published. So you can find it in my Ravelry shop and also on loveknitting.com in my designer area there. And this is obviously a pullover, so it doesn't have the cardigan option, but I think that it suits a kid more. So the idea is that Big Hearts is for kids and Little Hearts is for babies. This pattern features tubular bind-offs and cast-ons throughout, which is my favorite method. It has the option to include short row shaping, which is what raises the back of the neck up like this. So if you have a kid who is particularly sensitive about having something right up to their neck, I would definitely recommend doing the short row shaping. But maybe for the smaller sizes, it's not as necessary because you could pretty much wear it front to back when you're a little kid and there's not so much of a difference. This size is the size 4 to 6, which is the largest size that I'm offering right now. And it's basically a top-down yoke sweater with no shaping other than the short row for the raising the back neck. I'm really happy with how it came out. The fabric blocked out really nicely. I used Arwetta Classic, which is a fingering weight yarn, and I held it double throughout. I used the light blush color and then also mustard color here. And the color numbers will be in the pattern and on my project page, so you can find them there in case you're interested. But I'm really happy with how this turned out, and I have been meaning to write this pattern for a pretty long time, basically. As soon as I published my Little Hearts pattern, I started getting requests for a kid size, so here it is, and I hope you enjoy. Did I mention this is fingering weight, but it's held double? So that is the Big Hearts pattern, which is available now on Ravelry and Love Knitting. This week I have also been doing a couple of non-knitting projects. Since it is Me Made May this month, I also have been wearing my hand-sewn outfits, but actually I pretty much always, I would say maybe 80% of the time, I have something which is handmade that I'm wearing. I would say 100% of the time I'm using something handmade because my backpack that I carry to work is the range backpack that I made from Noodlehead, and I use that every day. So I don't always have a 100% handmade outfit, and I feel like I haven't added that many things to it lately, which is fine. But I do have a lot of fabrics in my stash, which I have projects in mind, but I haven't been getting behind the sewing machine that often lately because I have been knitting away on my designs and also coordinating the test knits and that kind of thing, which is quite time consuming. So today I'm wearing a top that I made a while ago. This is the Givre top from Deer and Doe, and the original pattern is what's it called, color blocked. So basically from here up is one color and then a different color for the bottom half. And I have two versions of this top. One of them is black on the top with black and white stripes for the bottom, and this one that I have is all black. I don't wear this shirt that often. I wear my striped one more because I like the stripes. This one, the fabric which I used is a bit on the stiff side. I don't think, it's a cotton jersey. I don't think it would bother me as much if it was a little bit better fitting. You won't be able to tell probably, but the weird thing about this shirt is that the upper arm on me is quite loose, and right here on the arm, my forearm, is really tight. So it just makes me kind of feel like I have extra fabric here and it's tight on my forearm, so it's a little bit off in that way. Last week I showed you the Nico top, which I made in a really nice silky bamboo fabric, a bamboo jersey, which was also in black. I much prefer the fit of that top. I don't always want to wear a turtleneck, so this is nice that it's more open, but I think if I were to make a top like this again with this neckline, I would probably use the Nico pattern and adjust the neckline on that rather than use the Givre top, just because I did a full bicep adjustment on the Nico top and that fits me really well. So it's kind of funny because on the Nico top, the bicep upper arm was too tight on me in my first version that I made, just kind of out of a scrap fabric. So I did a full bicep adjustment and now it fits perfectly. And I also prefer the shape of the body on the Nico. It has shaping in the pattern, so it hugs my body in a nice way, and it's not clinging to me, but it just has a nice shape, and I like the fit of it. So this one is also shaped, I guess, but I think for me it goes in a little bit too tight at the waist, so it tends to ride up and bunch a little bit around the waist. And yeah, so it's just basically black top, nothing in particular. While I'm here, I will also show you my ginger jeans. These are my third pair that I have made. I'm really happy with how this pair turned out. If you can see, the pocket there is pink and white stripes, and I have gold rivets, and the center button is gold, and I have gold top stitching throughout. But I'm really happy with how these jeans turned out. I showed you last time the darker pair that I made, and since I've made this pair, I've actually been mostly wearing this pair pretty much every day, and I decided to try, I just switched back to my darker pair a couple of days ago and wore those for a day, and it's just such a huge difference in the fit. When I made those ones, I thought that they fit really well, but these ones fit so much better. And that's just progress, and I'm still glad that I made the other ones. I still will wear them. It was necessary for me to make those ones in order to see what fit adjustments I needed to make for these ones, so that now these ones are pretty much perfect in my eyes, but who knows, maybe the next pair will be even better. This pair, some of the things that I adjusted were that I did a low seat adjustment. So if you were getting, basically if you're getting certain kind of drag lines, wrinkles on the back of your thighs near your bottom, then one reason could be that you need a low seat adjustment. Heather Lou, who runs Closet Case, she has a pants fitting PDF, I think, on her website, and it's just a free thing that you can look at. It gives you some ideas of if you feel like perfecting your fit. Now, she also goes on and about this whole thing like that you don't need to perfect your fit, because if you make a pair of jeans, it's awesome and you should be happy that you made them and be proud of them. But if your goal is to make clothing that fits you really well, and you're interested in perfecting your fit, then you can follow some of her instructions. The pants fitting guide has several different common fit issues that people encounter when trying to fit pants, so it's a really good resource, and I made multiple fit adjustments for these pants. So let's see, some of the things that I did was I did do the low seat adjustment to eliminate the drag lines which were under my bottom. Of course, you do need to have a little bit of flexibility in your pants, because otherwise you won't be able to sit down. I also did I think I shortened the crotch because I had a lot of, now I probably do because I've been sitting, but I had a lot more horizontal drag lines here, and they were, I think it's like, it tells you if they're pointing, if it's like smile lines or if it's pointing downwards, it means different things. So you try these little adjustments and the fit is adjusted that way. I also did a flat bum adjustment. Oh no, I think it's called a flat seat adjustment, whatever. Basically, flat ass. And that means that on pants, I often have too much fabric here in the yoke part, so now that is solved. I also did a knocked knee adjustment, which is one of the things that bothers me now about the first pair that I made, which is so much better about this pair. So my knees go in slightly because my feet are pretty flat. One of the adjustments is that you can shift the pattern slightly so that there, I think, is slightly a shorter inseam than outer seam. And that means that you don't get this like bunching fabric at your knees, which I have had both as a result of having large calves and as a result of having the knock knee problem. So I think an important thing when you are thinking about fitting clothing and making adjustments for yourself is to not be hard on yourself, because everybody has adjustments to make. Just because we sew our own clothing, if you sew your own clothing, just because you sew your own clothing doesn't mean that it's automatically going to be amazing and fit you perfectly. It's just like you can't expect everything in a store to fit you perfectly. So the nice thing about sewing your own clothing is that you can identify which changes you can make to make the clothing fit you how you want it to. And it's also okay, I think, if you don't want to make so many fitting adjustments. It will probably still be a really nice pair of jeans. It will probably still be a nice shirt. Like this shirt, I didn't make any adjustments on. I can still wear this. I still do wear this shirt. It's just not my favorite, and I don't feel like, awesome, this is the best shirt I've ever made, which is okay because I still learned something from making this shirt. All that to say, just sew and do what you like and have fun. And if that means that you want to focus on getting a fit which you are more comfortable in, then do that. So that's all I have for sewing. Now I have another fabric project, which many of you probably have seen on Instagram stories, and this is something that I'm really proud of, so I hope you bear with me. But I will show you the headboard that I made for Thomas and I's bed. When Thomas and I moved into our new apartment, we knew that we were going to get a new bed because in our old apartment we had our bed basically in a closet. We had a double bed, I think, if by US measurements approximately, and 140 centimeter wide bed by European measurements. Now we have 180, which I think is like maybe more like a king size bed. The best thing about it is that it's just so much more comfortable than our old bed. When we were buying our bed, we were thinking that we probably wanted to have a headboard, but headboards are insanely expensive, and I had seen on Pinterest that there were tutorials for how you could make your own, and you know me, I can't let a project go. So I thought, sure, I can make a headboard. So I did. You can see, here it is over here. I'll bring you over there in a minute to give you a bit of a close-up. But I'm so happy with how it turned out. I followed a tutorial on Pinterest, roughly. Let's just take you for a little walk. So here is my headboard, and you can see that it is tufted. I think you say tufted. So it has some 3-dimension to it. The fabric is a, I think velour, you would say. It definitely has a direction, so not this way, this way. And I have done some pleating at the top here, and then kind of pinched each of these sections that come from the buttons. The board itself is a particle board, I think is what it's called. It's, you know, like compressed wood and fiber particles. And then I drilled holes in the board at equidistance, and then pulled the thread with the button on it through and staple gunned it to the back. I also staple gunned the fabric, and I covered the buttons with the fabric, the same fabric that I used for the board. I mean, for the whole headboard. It was quite the project, to say the least, but actually I spent more time thinking about and planning the project than it actually took to make the project, which I guess is often how it goes. I bought a foam mattress from IKEA, and it's this egg crate mattress. It's just one of the, I don't remember the name of it, but it's just a foam mattress for a bed, I guess. And it came with a zipper coated, like a fabric thing that was zipper, like a fabric sleeve that had a big zipper around it. So this is just my leftover piece that I cut off the end because the mattress was 90 centimeters by 200 centimeters and my board is 90 by 180 because the bed is 180 and I wanted it to be the same width as the bed. So, but this gives you an idea. Oh, no, it doesn't say the name of it. It's just the IKEA sticker. It gives you an idea of how thick the foam is compared to my hand. I mean, it's pretty thick. And on top of the foam, well, so I had the board foam with the egg part down, and then on the top of the foam I have a quilt batting for what you put on the inside of a quilt, or I think also called wadding. I used that because in the tutorial that I was following, it said that if you wanted to get even more definition and depth to your button tufting, then you should add that layer of quilt batting. For me, that served an additional purpose, which was that it held everything in place when I was doing the fabric. So in the tutorial they used a spray adhesive, which I didn't really want to use just because I don't have a big place outside that I could use a spray adhesive, and I don't really want to use a spray adhesive in my apartment. But also because my foam had egg carton on one side, and I knew I wanted to have that side down, I wasn't sure how well it would adhere to the wood if I used the spray adhesive. So by using the quilt batting, I put the quilt batting over the foam and over the board so it came around the edges, and then just like the fabric that you saw was pulled over the edges, I staple gunned the quilt batting also to the board. So that meant that everything was kind of contained and the foam wasn't moving around or anything when I was prepared, and then I was prepared to do the fabric layer on the top. So I put the fabric on and just started. I did the top row of buttons first, starting on the left-hand side and working my way across the top. And after each button, I would make the pleat. So I would fold the fabric and make sure that it was positioned how I wanted it to. I would staple gun it to the back, and then I would also measure the distance to the next pleat. So the buttons were all equally spaced, but I also wanted to make sure that the pleats were equal because then they would be straight, if that makes sense. It would have been easier with a couple more hands, but I was determined to finish this project one Saturday morning, and Thomas was out biking. So while he was away biking, I just did it, and it's, yeah, really satisfying to finish. I used a long upholstery needle. It's about this long, and the kind of tricky thing was that I only had my holes for where the buttons would go on the back side, and I didn't drill them all the way through, which was something that they did do in the tutorial. I don't really have a drill that would go all the way through that foam, and I thought drilling foam sounds a little bit messy. So instead, I took the needle, poked it through from the wood side, through the foam and the fabric, kind of wiggled it around a little bit to make the hole a little bigger for in the foam. And then I took the needle out and I pushed it back through with the needle eye coming out first. So the pointy side was the side that I was pushing in. Then I was able to thread the button thread through the eye of the needle and pull it back through. Once I pulled it through, I had to push the button pretty hard with my fingers, and while I was positioned, pushing it in, holding the fabric, no, not holding the fabric, pushing it in, holding the threads on the backside, I could staple gun it in place. Yeah. It was quite a gymnastics activity. I was sore the next day, and I had some bruises on my thighs and fingers, but it was 100% worth it. So now I'm just excited to mount it to our wall finally, and yeah, our bedroom is really kind of coming together, which is something I'm happy about because, yeah, it's looking really nice. And this is the first time we've had an actual bedroom. Like I said, we had a closet before, so a closet that was our bedroom. Another thing that I have recently made, which will also go in our bedroom, is a hanging plant, a plant hanger. Hanging plant. Yeah, a plant hanger. And I have it right here. This will hang in our bedroom window, and I just made this today. It took a couple hours. It has this little wooden ring on the top, and I used 2 different colors of macrame rope, this dark green and this natural color, and made this plant hanger. I don't have such a hard time remembering what it's called. Plant hanger. So here it is. It is the first time I've ever done macrame, but the knots were familiar to me from doing friendship bracelets, if you ever did those as a kid or teenager even. So here it is, and right now I have, this is called a silver vine, I think, in it. And I just need to decide if I'm going to trim the end tails off it a little bit, because right now it's pretty long. So I used the dark green up here at the top and then also underneath here. But yeah, I'm really happy with how this turned out. I'm just gonna set it down. So that hangs now in our bedroom window, and I think that I will probably make another one, maybe for a gift. We'll see. I bought this macrame rope at a local craft store here in Stockholm, and you can see that I used mostly the natural color, and this is pretty much the size of the roll from the beginning. The pattern that I followed is in the new issue of Making, which is a magazine. It's the desert issue, and I would show it to you, but I actually don't have it right with me now because it's with I get it delivered to my parents' house in the US, and my mom is coming at the end of May, but I borrowed my friends for the instructions for the pattern. It's a pattern by the Little Knot Shop, yeah, with PPE. I don't know. But it was really easy to follow, and I can recommend it. It only called for one color, but I thought it would be fun to add an extra color in there, and I think that the next one that I will make will be this with the main color, and maybe this for a little bit of a accent. I can see macrame becoming a bit of an obsession, but I'm trying to be realistic and not start too many projects all at once. One thing that I'm thinking about though is that it would be really nice to have a wall hanging right on that wall above where my headboard is living at the moment until it moves to the bed. We don't really have anything there at the moment. Sometimes we have a chair, but right now that's in our other room, and I think it could be nice to have the wall hanging there. My desk might move there eventually, and I think any piece of furniture there, it's just a nice big piece of wall that could have a big wall hanging on it that I'm imagining doing because I'm going to be an expert in macrame. Not. Yeah. So I've been contemplating where I can get a nice big piece of driftwood to start my macrame project on. I don't know how much driftwood there is around here, so I might have to settle for a stick from the forest, but yeah, we will see. First I'm gonna make my second plant hanger, and maybe I should start with a mini wall hanging just to try out some other kinds of knots before I go crazy. So those are the projects that have been keeping me busy the past couple of weeks, and I still have quite a few designs in mind. It takes a while because I knit the projects myself while I'm writing the pattern. I write everything down on paper. That was for the big hearts. And then I transfer it to my computer, and once I have it all typed up, I send it out to test knitters. And of course they need a little bit of time to knit it, and I need time to take in their feedback and change the pattern or adjust it if I need to. And it all just takes a while. I also have to have the time to knit the project, so yeah, I have a lot of ideas in my head, but I can't make them come out as fast as I would like to because everything takes time, which is fine. Thank you to those of you who reached out after my last episode and said that you would be interested in test knitting. I think I have replied to everyone by now, so I basically am keeping a list of people with their preferences for what they like to knit, and I will be contacting you if I think there's something that might suit you and that is ready for test knitting. So with that, I think I will wish you a happy weekend and happy knitting. Until next time, bye!